G'day guys, this is Jackson Milan, the Wealth Mentor, and I'm super excited for another expert masterclass. I've got a good friend of mine, Scott Gellatly, the General Manager of IT Genius. Now, we had Scott on the podcast many moons ago where we were able to dive into some of his genius, unpack some of it, and it was hugely valuable. We had a lot of phenomenal feedback from people who are watching and listening. So I finally roped Scott back in to talk about his skill set, his expertise, which is all things tech, all things about understanding your systems and running an efficient, future-proof business. So we can share some insights for you guys off the back of this coronavirus crisis to adapt and shift your business using and leveraging technology. So Scotty, thanks for joining us, mate. How you doing?
Thanks, Jacko. I was just thinking back to that podcast and the fun we had. I think we ended up talking about how AI could get control of the newt codes and what that might actually mean. So it was all value and all laughs as well.
It was phenomenal. It was years before the Joe Rogan and Elon Musk podcast. We were trendsetters.
That's right.
We planted the seed for that conversation.
They were watching us and they've gone and copied. Yeah,
exactly. Enjoy the journey podcast. Love that. So Scotty, tell us a little bit about you and your business, mate.
Well, look, IT Genius, you can think of this as your IT business or your IT leader in the cloud. So particularly for small to medium Australian businesses that need to leverage those kind of technologies, which now more than ever can help you work remotely, can help you become more productive, and can, I guess, really help you innovate and change the customer experience. We're the guys that help you set that tech up. So we're all things small business cloud tech, based all around the Google G Suite set of products and all the tools and things that kind of integrate with that. So that's IT Genius, and I'm personally, rich history in IT companies. As you know, I've owned businesses, several businesses in this space, and was recently acquired by IT Genius and became their general manager sort of late last year, prior to all this craziness going down. So good timing. Couldn't have planned it better myself.
I love that. And it was great to see the synergies between your previous business, Scale My Empire, and IT Genius. It just made sense, right? So bit of backstory, you specialized in CRM and implementing tools that allowed businesses to be more efficient. One of the tools that you used is actually integrates perfectly with Google. So just made sense. It was a match made in heaven.
I did. And look, IT Genius were looking to start to expand out and not just rely entirely on Google G Suite as the one and only platform, but look at how can we actually serve Australian small businesses for all of their technology needs across the board. And like that includes, how you sell and how you manage relationships, how you manage the tasks and the projects within the team, not just, how you send emails and manage your calendar. So we're sort of expanding that basket to look at how we can service people for all their needs.
And it's perfect timing, mate. So you guys primarily work with SMEs, small to medium enterprises across Australia, right?
Yeah, bang on. And look, 98% of Australia's businesses have less than 20 people in it. So like Australia reflecting that, a lot of our businesses are anywhere from 1 to 5 people, then up to sort of 20 people, and then, a smaller bucket up to 200, those sort of people emerging in mid-market that are going up to the next stage.
And you've been a busy bloke along with the rest of the team over the course of the last couple of months. So, mate, talk us through your typical client. What's happening on the coalface in terms of these small to medium businesses that we're talking about as a result of coronavirus?
It is an interesting time to be alive, very interesting time to be in business. And I'm seeing you sort of like one of a few things. You've been in business a long time and you probably were over it. And this is like, yep, this is my checkout. This is my reason to close the doors and leave without, my ego intact and everything else. This is my chance to move on. Then you've got those who are just unprepared, unable to change and unable to innovate. And you're really struggling. Some of those businesses are closing. Other people are putting things on ice for a little while and sort of waiting to see what happens. And they're going to find out that things aren't, tremendously better in a couple of months. And then you're seeing these, these real people with entrepreneurial mindsets that are going, okay, the world's changed, but our customers are still there. People still need our service. We just need to get it to them in a way that's more palatable to them, potentially lower cost, but also then more scalable. So they're looking at how they can reach more people with less effort per person and still provide an awesome customer experience. And that's where technology comes in. and technology is the focus. And we've been helping those people a lot to transition, into the cloud, so to speak, to access some of that stuff.
So we're not going to talk about that first bucket of people. They've already sailed off in the sunset. They're probably sitting virtually in the Bahamas drinking a virtual rum out of a coconut, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about those two buckets, the other two that are still in the game. So let's talk about those who are unprepared. When you say unprepared, what are the things that they didn't have in place, Scott, that have caught them off guard?
I don't think anyone can be prepared necessarily, because even the government wasn't prepared. I think that anyone could say they could be prepared, but you can have the right mindset. You can have the right mindset to change, and you can see it as a challenge and something worthy of lifting your game to meet, or you can feel lost. And it's okay to feel lost. I'm not actually saying there's anything wrong with that, because I think a lot of people feel lost, including people that are in power or that are leaders might feel lost. Your only incentive then is to find a leader or a guide, a bit like Skywalker finding his Obi-Wan. You need to find a guide like yourself, or others who can help you develop a new strategy for a new world.
Yeah.
And if you haven't done that yet, you're going to hang up on the podcast and go and do that straight away, because that's all you might need if you're feeling lost, is to find your guide.
And that's so important, mate. Look, I think this word, and we've spoken about this a little bit on the podcast, and I hate the word because I think it's been done to death, but pivot. I think that everyone's talking about this pivot, but I think that there's many business owners out there that pivoted too soon without understanding their purpose. I think it's purpose, then pivot, understanding what are you actually trying to create, or what direction does your business actually need to pivot, and then go in the right direction to help your clients achieve those outcomes. Because you hit the nail on the head, mate. There's people out there who still want and need your service. It's just a matter of what is the method that you're going to deliver that to them based on the new outcomes that they want in the new world.
Let's use a different word. Let's not use pivot. Let's use evolve, because that's really what this is about. And biology is a good example of when a crisis, an ecological or environmental crisis hits, the animals that survive and that thrive are the ones that evolve. They don't pivot from necessarily being, a lizard to a mammal, although that, that can happen over a broader scale, but they evolve. They double down on the features that help them survive and the bits of their culture which have, the most value. They double down on that, and that grows into something new. And I think there's a lot of businesses that have gone, well, maybe we can't do anything online. My customer experience would never work being delivered over Zoom or whatever. And they've just refused to look at that, refused to evolve. And there's others that have gone, well, you know what? Maybe it won't work as well as it did before, but we can do it. Let's double down on that and let's give it a try.
Yeah. You've got to give it a red hot crack, right? And look, I think it's famous Chinese proverb, he who said he can and he who said he can't are both right. And I think it's those individuals who just run and chase it and then work it out along the way are the ones that are going to try and adapt and evolve. So let's talk about this evolution. I think that the biggest pain point for all of us is the adaptation of technology, that curve, that steep learning curve for many of us of trying to make this work. And this is where you guys come in. So let's talk about, I guess, enabling businesses through technology. So talk us about what are some of these tools that we can be implementing in our business, and what are some of those efficiencies that we can create to allow us to scale in this new world?
Well, I'll address actually that first part that you said, which is like how difficult it can be to adopt these things, because I think that's an important thing that a lot of people are struggling with first. And there's two parts to that. It's like, what's even out there that I can use that might help me? And if you, to your point, start with, here are my values, here's my vision, here's the experience I think I could create, then it's about finding a guide who can help you choose the tools. And that's where we can come in. You can contact our guys and say, look, this is the sort of business I'm trying to achieve. What, in your experience, do you think will help me achieve that? And we might start at the ground floor and say, well, before you build a house, you need to start with the slab and you need Google G Suite or something like that. Or if you've got that, we might say, all right, well, here's the sort of the walls and things that you need, to start putting that together. And we can help you kind of grow that over time. So we can help you with the strategy, and then we can help you with adoption, because these tools aren't necessarily easy to learn. So you might need some training. We can help you guide through a smart way of getting set up, making sure all the team are on board and everybody's happy and humming with it. Does that make sense, first of all?
Makes perfect sense, mate. So let's talk about the kind of the tool bag, right? The essentials that this future-proof business needs to be able to be successful in the new world. What would you say are those non-negotiables?
Well, I think the first thing is that the non-verbal communication element, body language in how you collaborate with clients, whether it's with existing customers, with prospects or whatever, that's sort of like the number one thing that disappears when we start working remote, right? But you can start to bring a lot of that back with using tools like we are right now. I mean, I can see you in HD clarity. I can literally see the fibers of your beard, that illustrious growth. That makes me jealous. So the first thing you want to leverage and master is that kind of video technology and the ability to work with people on video. And it is an art. It's something that you can go do courses on, I'm sure, but really you just got to give it a try. And Google's Meet product, MET, Google Meet, that's actually free for anyone on just a plain old Gmail account, let alone if you're on Google G Suite, and it's got the recording and it's got all the same features as Zoom now as well. So if you're already looking for something, jump straight onto enterprise meet.google.com and you've got a tool at your disposal straight away.
Fantastic.
So that'd be, I'd say, the first thing. I think the second is what's missing is kind of like the company whiteboard. It's that thing, that visual representation on the wall of, maybe what deals you've got on at the moment, what projects are happening at the moment, what tickets need to be addressed, what customers need help. And if you think about your typical office environment where, maybe the whiteboard was kind of the centerpiece of what's going on, that's kind of something that you need to replace with the digitalized version. Lots of different ways to do that. If it's in a sales context, something like Copper CRM, which is a great, again, tool that integrates Google G Suite. They work hand in glove, can give you a nice visual representation of the deals that are in the pipe right now, what needs help, what's going to close. And that's, I can dive into an enormous amount of detail there as to how that can help, but it's going to start by helping you replace the whiteboard.
Fantastic.
And then when it comes to the team doing work, you've got plenty of, board task tools like your Asanas and things like that, which sort of show everything that the team are working on in a really easy layout that you as a manager or as a business owner can just log in and go, okay, what's on the go at the moment? What hasn't been started? What are people working on? What's been finished and that I might need to go check off with or have a chat? And really it's a repository of everything that's happening.
Fantastic. And look, I think these are some of the things we sometimes take for granted, right, Scott? That when we're in an office environment, we can just turn around and yell out to old Billy over there and say, hey, Billy, how are you going with that? And it's about how do we systemize and replace those things in technology, which in actual fact is probably a smarter way to do things because there's no way of really recording me yelling across the room to Billy.
Exactly.
So we can actually create efficiencies through this, right?
Yeah, that's right. And that's the next level of this is once you start putting some of these digital tools in, you realize they do one thing that the physical equivalents didn't do, and that's track the history. You can get if we're talking about the sales context with Copper, you can actually get a report that tells me how much sales activity has gone on, how many calls have we made, how many emails have been sent, what deals are we expecting to close this month, and quantify that in terms of dollars. How many new deals have we closed or opened, if that's your terminology, over the course of the last quarter versus maybe what we've forecast. So you can start to measure. And you and I were having a chat prior to the cast about what some of the challenges are that people are facing. And what the number one thing is? That they had no cash in the bank, that they were maybe measuring what was going on in their business. And then something changes and it's like, whoa, what do I do now? So these tools are going to give you those.
And that's the problem, mate, that most of these businesses are flying blind. Because they don't have these systems in place and they don't have the processes in place to actually use the systems properly. That they either don't have the whiteboard or the whiteboard's not being updated and they're just going off their kind of bank balance accounting of, do I have money in the bank No, I don't. Oh, shit. And it's about using
Better
this.
do some sales. Yeah.
Exactly right. And that's where we get this roller coaster ride of business, where we go from oh shit moment to oh shit moment. But where we start utilizing these tools is where we get that data intelligence, where we can make informed and educated decisions.
Yeah. I think of business like a machine. And in one end goes leads and goes our investment. And then there's cogs and pulleys and all sorts of things going on in that machine. And at the end comes money, right? Cash flow. But throughout the course of that machine, little bits of oil are leaking out. Maybe it's, the wrong leads coming in that we're disqualifying. Maybe it's lost deals. Maybe it's projects that are failing down or get, refunds, or maybe it's excess spend that we don't need to be doing. If you just have that machine operating in a physical environment without any data, you don't know what's causing those oil leaks. You just know that you're putting this much in and this much is coming out. Once you start to actually look at these tools, and it might feel hard to start with to make that shift, but eventually you're going to be able to open that machine up and go, okay, what's actually not working? And let's start to tighten some screws up, reduce the oil leaks, and make more cash come out the other end. Right?
That's where the magic happens,
less
right?
input. Yeah, for less input if you're lucky. So,
and this is the thing, like we've been working together for years, and I remember one of the first projects that we did is creating a performance dashboard that actually allowed us to get a 24-month revenue projection. Now, imagine as a
not
business
many people have that.
being able to project 24 months into the future within it was probably about a 10% plus minus variance. It's a game changer.
And you can't do it unless you know your numbers around how well you convert as a business. I'm a numbers guy, and a lot of people that listen to this are probably like I'm more of a feeling or a people person, and I'm not sure how to get the numbers. And one of your questions is, what are the sorts of things you need to do to make this a success? Well, it might be that you need to find your numbers guy, or you need to engage somebody like an IT genius who can help you think this through and actually get the numbers set up for you. And then a Jackson Milan to help you understand what those numbers mean so that you can make decisions about them.
Yeah. And it's all about asking the right questions, right? So
Precisely.
talk me through the process. So I guess you've probably had a lot of clients that have been in crisis mode and that they're just like, Scott and IT Genius team, help me. I don't know what I need help with exactly, but just help me. So talk us through that strategy piece, what goes into asking the right questions to actually create this solution or this tech stack for these businesses?
It's a good question itself. And look, you've got to come to us with what you want to do with the business. So you've either got to work that out with yourself, or you've got to engage your coach or your guide to say, okay, where do we want to take this business, and what's out there in the realm of possibility for me to evolve in? What strengths should I double down in? And then it's going to come down to, okay, what do I need to enable that to be a success? It's like saying, I want to go and build a house. And you've gone, okay, great. I've picked the location. I've picked the rough kind of design of it, but I need some tools to go and build that house.
Yeah.
You're going to come to us and go, okay, what tools do I need to make this a reality? We're not going to paint the canvas for you. We're going to give you the paintbrushes, and we're going to give you the palette to start crafting it. Does that make sense?
Perfect. Makes perfect sense.
So you need to have got that advice. And then it's about looking at, okay, what's the absolute number one priority? We know from experience that if you don't have the right foundation into your house, like a Google G Suite, well, there's no point building walls. They're just going to fall over. So we might start with that. And we might even say, if you've got that, maybe it needs to be adjusted. Maybe there's some security holes. Maybe there's some features you're not running. We'll make sure that everything's nice and tight. So you've got a stable, dead straight slab to start erecting those walls on. And that's like, well, okay, if you need to help build stronger relationships on a personal level, what tools do you have in place to do that? Well, maybe it's a spreadsheet. Well, that's not enough. Okay, so what tools can we put in that will help you know when you spoke to somebody last, who in the team is talking to who, what are they talking about, where in the customer life cycle do they sit at the moment, so that we can work out what to pitch to them.
Makes perfect sense. So, in my experience working with a lot of business owners, I find that there's two types of people, and I'm one of these types of people. So you might have to guess to see which one I am. There's the types of people who chase the shiny objects and end up going and setting up every single tool under the sun just to play around, and they're just perpetually doing trials of this software, right? And then on the other side, there's individuals who don't do anything. They're just like scared of technology, don't want to touch it, don't want to open the Pandora's box. The first things first. Which one am I, Scotty?
You're not number two. I can tell you that for known you for many years, Jackson. And although I know you're chase a shiny ball from here to there, you're definitely a guy that looks at how he can do things smarter and faster. So
You got to test these things, mate.
got to test
And
these
I,
things
I
out.
just come to you just to teach me how to use it.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to technology and building, I guess, a tech stack. In your experience, where do you feel that they tend to go wrong?
Yeah. So there's definitely a couple of things here. Let me start with adoption. And when I talk about adoption, that's a fancy term for getting my team to use it. Because it's all great to go and implement a nice, big, shiny ball, big new technology. But if no one's going to use it, it's a digital paperweight. You've got to involve your team from the beginning and say, look, back to what we were talking about before, you've got to sell the vision. You've got to have the team on board with what you want to create and get them to help inform you what you might need to take it to the next level and get their buy-in. Get them involved in the trialing and the assessment of a tool and help you make a decision. Therefore, they're your team. And if you're a one-off operator, then it's your coach or someone like that, or your guide who can help you make those decisions. So get everyone involved. And then make sure once you've made a decision that ample training is involved. And that's the difference between, I'm just going to go buy something direct from a vendor versus I'm going to engage a partner to help me make this software sing. And you'll have noticed, a lot of software you can go buy online, right? But a partner might give you a call and say, hey, can I help you? That partner, their sole purpose is to help you make that software a success.
Yeah.
So they're definitely my top tips for adoption and making sure that these things are a success. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, mate. So at what point do you think that people need to review their tools? Because obviously these tools are normally deployed based on a certain stage of business. And either your business has gone through a substantial amount of growth and maybe the tools aren't working like they once did. Maybe you've had a shift in value proposition and therefore you need different features and functionality. So when it comes to reviewing what you've already got and working out whether it is broken and whether it needs to be fixed, how do you go about that, mate?
Yeah, look, it's a really good point to know that if you're doing business right, you're constantly evolving. And what worked for you yesterday, the set of tools, the processes, maybe even your values and your value proposition can change. And that's okay. That's a positive thing. That just means you're growing, right? You're evolving. So that's a good thing. And any decision that you make with the technology tool, might require an investment and lessons might be learned, but that money's not burned, even if you've made the wrong decision, because you've just enabled yourself to make the right decision.
Yeah.
But you can save yourself some financial burden there by making the right decision for what you need in the business. Again, by approaching someone who can help. Finding a guide. If you just handed Luke his lightsaber and said, you'll be right, he'd have chopped his own leg off within the first 10 minutes of the film and then the credits would roll. Sith Lord takes over Galaxy, the end. Vader never discovers who his son is. So I think finding the guide, I can't recommend enough seeking help to answer those questions and having the person who knows what questions to ask. It's going to help you.
I think the question that I get the most is what CRM is right for me? And this is something that it's constantly asked because there's a million CRMs out there and they all do lots and lots of different things. So when it comes to deciding on a good CRM, well, firstly, what is a CRM, Scott, for those of the people who are watching or listening that don't know?
And look, I think this is a good case study for exactly what I just talked about around finding a guide. And this is the sort of stuff that we would talk about. So every CRM, and a CRM is a customer relationship management system. So it's a tool that has a database of all of your customers and helps you build a strong relationship and generally make more sales, right? whether it's new sales for new business or working with existing customers. Now, as you rightly said, there's a million of these tools out there, right? Thing is, they've all been designed to suit a specific market and a specific reason. So when someone stands up and goes, yep, Ontraport, Ontraport's the right tool, it was awesome for me, it does the right thing, you should not listen to that advice. Ontraport's great. I have nothing against Ontraport. Fantastic tool for the right situation. And every business is different. So to use CRM as an example, broadly speaking, there's two different buckets. There's people that need to communicate at scale with their audience, maybe because they're selling low ticket items at high volume. Maybe it's not service oriented. Maybe it's, about selling products. Or maybe it's just about getting a lot of content to a big list of customers to draw in leads.
It's a big marketing focus, basically.
Businesses that have a marketing focus versus businesses that are more relationship focused. Maybe they're high ticket sales for low volume. It's more about building one-on-one personal relationships. No such thing as B2B. It's all P2P, person to person, right? And it's about taking someone on a journey. And maybe there's a quote or a proposal or some kind of pitch that needs to be made before you sign off and get started together. So typically two different, some businesses fall between the two, like your coaching companies, and you're one of those who actually has both of these things running in parallel with each other. But typically you've got your one or the other. And if you are a marketing focused business, so you're in the first bucket, then you're looking at your Ontraports, your Infusionsoft, your MailChimp, your ActiveCampaign, your tools that help you send mass or bulk emails out to a really big audience to connect with as many people as possible. HubSpot's another good example.
Yep.
If you're relationship focused, if it's about that one-to-one and that journey, you're looking for a relationship sales CRM. Copper CRM, if you're on Google G Suite, is best in class at the moment. But you might, if you're on Office 365, you might look at a base CRM or a Pipedrive. And of course, if you're in enterprise land, you might have heard of Salesforce.
Yeah.
That's where Salesforce kind of lives, right? Is in that side of things.
Yeah.
Although these days they sell products everywhere. Is that making sense so far?
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And you said if you're a business that does a bit of both, content's really important. Maybe you've got a really big list and getting that message out is key. But when you've got them in the door, it's about, P2P relationships. You might have the two hooked together, synced together, much like you do in your own environment.
And this is the thing, mate, that I think many of us as business owners, we try and look for a solution that does everything. And you will never find it. You can search for years and decades and you will never come across it. Or even if you find a tool that is specific to your industry and your niche and everything that you do, and you feel that the heavens have opened and the choir is singing, you'll quickly discover that there's probably shortfalls in that. But that's where these integrations and these tools can talk to each other. So let's talk about a process where we've maybe got a tool and it's not necessarily doing everything that we need it to do. How do we then make sure that these systems are communicating?
Yeah, well, thankfully, that's a lot easier now than maybe it was certainly 10 years ago and definitely 20 years ago. Trying to choose two different tools and making them talk together used to be a many $1,000 kind of process, like, talking tens of thousands of dollars or even more. Whereas nowadays, there's literally other cloud tools that let you hook tools together, and it becomes a much more point and click kind of process. So, you've got tools out there like PySync, which through point and click can link a bunch of tools together at a really simple basic level. But if you're needing something a little more complex, again, you might need to find the guide, the IT guy, the cloud IT guy that can set these things up for you. And that's what, again, where IT Genius steps in, is that, IT provider for small business. We can just help you say, yep, we can hook these tools up. This is how we'll do it. And, this is the timeline to make it happen, and we'll go and get it done.
Fantastic. Love that, mate. So for you guys as a business, I guess many small businesses out there have your local IT guy, let's call him Bob, and Bob comes out whenever you need him and basically does things in the office because you might have a server on site or something like that. How do you guys differ to Bob?
Well, Bob's building often physical infrastructure in the office. Bob might suggest that it's more secure. And the last person who told me that, I asked them where their server was, and it was in the front office by the window. So sun could cook it, car could hit it. It's actually visible through the window, so it could be stolen, or someone could just unplug the thing and it could die, or the hard drive could stuff up and you'd lose the lot. So physical is not more secure. Cloud technologies, and when we say in the cloud, we talk about taking all the things that are on your hard disk and moving them into software that's available typically through a browser. That stuff's stored in data centers that are in World War II bunkers 1 kilometer under the ice in Norway, or deep in a vault somewhere in the Nevada desert. And they do nothing but make this stuff secure. They spend millions of dollars, 30, 40, 50,000 times more money than you would ever consider to spend on security. So they're highly secure. They're super cheap. What used to be $1,000 a month, or even $10,000 a month for just email servers, you can get for $10 a month now. The scale and the cost, it's a no-brainer. It's more secure. It's easier to access. You can access it from anywhere instead of just being in your office, and it is immeasurably cheaper. So the pitch for us is easy. It's not even the pitch is almost, most people are going in knowing this stuff. It's just about helping them work out the right sequence of events to get from where they are today to where they need to be. And that's where the real value is that we add.
Makes perfect sense. It was funny. I had a Microsoft Teams meeting the other day, and the guy was trying to log into a virtual server remotely, and he was screaming out and carrying on. And I'm like, wow, I don't even remember what that feels like.
It's been so long.
It's been so long. It's crazy. And look,
I know.
like for us, using your services and all of the support that you've given, all the strategy that you've given, essentially it was the only thing that was to take our Surface Pro and to go home and just not come back. And literally there's nothing else that we had to do. So it was a breath of fresh air.
That's funny. People keep asking us, how's your business changed since all of this went down? And I'm like, we're literally business as usual. Not a single thing in my life has changed other than I go into my co-working space less per week.
Which is awesome.
So, and that's the case because our whole team's remote as well, right?
Fantastic. So let's give some insights. So for small business owners that are watching and they might need a bit of help, what would be your advice to them when it comes to making sure that they're running efficiently, they're leveraging tools, and they're setting themselves up to future-proof their business in the current environment? What would be your advice to them, mate?
Look, I would start by going back to what we said before. Decide how you want to evolve. And even if you don't know what the end destination looks like, just decide where you want to double down. And you might need to go and find a guide first to help you do that. Work out what you want to do with the business. Then it's about, well, what tooling do I need to make that happen? And you can go to itgenius.com and line up a call with one of our consultants, and we can start talking you through what that journey might look like. Again, whether it's I've already got the slab and I just need the walls, or maybe I've got the slab, the walls, and I just need the roof. Maybe I just need more data. Maybe I just need to get some reporting and some KPIs out of what I've already got. Irrespective of where you are in the journey, we can help you map out the next steps and then plan that forward so you can achieve that goal or that evolution that you're looking to.
Love that, mate. Fantastic. Well, it's been a pleasure having a chat, mate. It's always a bit of good fun when we can have a bit of banter and record it to share some value with the world. So, guys, if you want to get in touch with Scott and the team at IT Genius to have a conversation around the tools that you've got in your business, if you want to get some support in terms of the strategy to make sure that you can future-proof your business, or if you just want to have a bit of great banter, Scott's always up for it. So, feel free to reach out.
It's true. To my great detriment, I'm always up for a gin wag.
I love that. Scott, thanks again, mate. It's been a pleasure. I'm looking forward to getting Pete on the podcast as well to share some of his value. And hopefully we can lock that away soon. I know he's a busy man. Guys,
he's looking forward to it, Jacko. Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, guys, I hope you've got some value from today. Looking forward to catching up with you again, Scotty, and we'll chat to you soon, mate.
Cheers, mate. See you later.
Take care.